Coming up, why one community believes a basketball coach was unjustly fired.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 11.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley. Fired up about a firing. One Southern Kentucky community rallied tonight behind a longtime coach who they say was unjustly fired last week. Jessica Umbro is in Wayne County, where community members and former players of Coach Rodney Woods came out to support him.
Getting rid of a coach who I look up to and inspired me to be like him when I got older is one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through.
Current and former players of Coach Rodney Woods spoke out about how their coach's sudden firing has thrown a wrench into their long-standing dreams.
The teammates were all hurt. We wanting him back, because we had something special there, and we just thought we could do next 2 years, do something real good.
District parents, some without kids even in high school yet, expressed their disapproval of how the firing went down. Coach Woods said Superintendent Donnie Neal held a grudge against him.
I feel like they shouldn't tolerate being, having bullies in school, administratively as well as students.
There were two key players missing from tonight's meeting, Superintendent Neal and Coach Woods. Now, in the past week, I have left multiple voicemail messages for Superintendent Neal. He has not called me back yet. And in a text message, Coach Woods told me he would not be attending the meeting tonight, but he did provide this statement. Words that were read to the public in the community center behind me.
I've had dozens of people contact me to say that they are praying and working hard to support me, but they couldn't attend tonight out of fear of retribution.
The statement continued.
We, and I stress we, did the right thing, and I'm proud of all of you, and I'm proud to say that I was your coach for 38 years.
Even without Superintendent Neal or Coach Woods in attendance, the message of the night rang loud and clear.
22 districts, 9 regions, 900 plus career wins, 4th all time in state wins, and he still has unfinished business here.
In Wayne County, Jessica Umbro, WKYT.
Also new tonight, UK's Justin Edwards has declared for the NBA draft after his freshman season. He announced his decision on Instagram. Edwards is the first of UK's 2023-24 freshman class to declare for the draft. He averaged nearly 9 points and 3 rebounds for the Cats. We'll have more on this later in sports.
We're tracking a few patches of rain or wintry mix as we go into your Thursday evening, as chilly temperatures also continue. Up on first alert pinpoint Doppler. For most of us, we are dry, but notice in those higher peaks of northeast Tennessee, also southeast Kentucky and southwest Virginia, watching out for a few sprinkles or snow flurries or patches of wintry mix as you go close to I-75 and Campbell County, pushing into Claiborne County. Also for far southeastern Kentucky from Middlesboro to Pineville and Bell County, pushing into Harlan County, also into Letcher County. And same story for far southern Pike County, pushing into portions of Wise, Dickinson, and Buchanan County over in southwest Virginia. No big issues tonight as temperatures are above freezing, but still you may see a few patches of wintry mix as we go into late tonight. Most of us right now in the upper 30s to lower 40s, and we wake up in the middle to upper 30s by Friday morning. And one more dreary day is on the way tomorrow. We see a freeze by tomorrow night, but some better weather is on the way for this weekend. Those details coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Cameron, thank you. Folks in Whitley County are still cleaning up after storms rolled through on Tuesday. Officials with the National Weather Service have not yet determined if the damage in the Bee Creek and Devils Creek areas of the county were caused by a tornado or just straight line winds. Meteorologist Ed Ray says they have several different ways to identify the difference between the two.
Typically with straight line winds, we're looking at damage that goes in all the same direction, okay? It is divergent most oftentimes. In other words, it spreads out as it goes along the surface of the earth or the ground. With tornadoes, you'll have a convergent signal. You'll have damage where it shows winds are converging into an area.
Ray says they are still looking over the damage and he hopes to make a determination soon. A Southern Kentucky EMT killed in a line of duty crash will be laid to rest this weekend. Chaston McWhorter died Monday. He was in an ambulance when it collided with a semi on US 27 in Garrett County. A patient also died. McWhorter had only worked as the Somerset Pulaski EMS for a year and a half. Those who knew him say it was a joy to be around and made a big impact on his community.
He fulfilled a lot of voids, knowing how the shortage of how EMS is and keeping staff. But I mean, he worked a lot. He helped out a lot.
McWhorter's funeral will be at 2 o'clock Central Time Saturday at Clinton County High School in Albany. Visitation will be there tomorrow starting at 4 p.m. and will continue at 8 Saturday morning. Officials say 2 years have passed now since the last coal mining death in Kentucky. Division of Mine Safety Director Tim Fugate says the last one was in March 2022. There are several annual inspections officials conduct to ensure safety. Fugate says most mines are now in western Kentucky, but there are still some operations here in the mountains.
In the east, we still mine a lot of specialty coals that's not thermal use. That'll be the future of mining is the thermal use of coal, things other than the thermal use of coal. We have a mines in eastern Kentucky that mines for silica.
Fugate says the minerals have also been used to strengthen aluminum. He says the adaptation will likely keep mining going. In today's Team Kentucky briefing, Governor Beshear talked about the Safer Kentucky Act, a comprehensive piece of legislation addressing crime-related issues in the state. The bill proposes increased penalties and fines, bans unlawful camping, expands the definition of violent crime, and permits shopkeepers to use force against shoplifting. While acknowledging positive elements like weapon destruction and murder cases, Governor Beshear also voiced concerns about potential impacts on homelessness and mental health.
Concerns that it could criminalize homelessness, and those that may need mental health services instead face potential jail time. So reviewing it, I certainly wish I had a line item on that one, and I also wish that legislation like this would be broken.
The governor also expressed the need for a carjacking statute for reliable data. He still has not made a decision yet on that bill. The Biden administration says a Republican budget proposal goes too far with cuts and would undermine the federal government's efforts to prevent drug addiction and overdoses. WYMT Washington News Bureau reporter Brendan Cullerton spoke to White House officials about the plan.
Republicans say the United States badly needs to balance its budget, but the White House says some of their proposed budget cuts would hurt efforts to prevent overdose deaths.
A recent Republican study committee budget would cut government spending across the board. Lawmakers say it would cut the deficit by $17.1 trillion in 10 years and improve Americans' quality of life in the process.
Connect the way that all the spending of the past 3.5 years, has impacted inflation, has impacted mortgage rates, has impacted the prices at the grocery store, that people get it and they say too much spending is having a direct negative impact on my life.
President Joe Biden says too many of the proposed cuts would impact overdose prevention efforts, like expanding access to overdose reversal drug naloxone.
This administration has worked over the last 3 years to make sure that more Americans have ability to save lives with Narcan or naloxone, get help when they want to and when they need to, because these are all things that matter to people across the country.
The White House also wants more money to be spent on drug detection systems at the southern border, saying 90% of fentanyl comes through legal ports of entry and not enough cars are being checked.
Only 5% of the vehicles are getting scanned, only 5%. And that's exactly what's not acceptable to President Biden.
The Republican budget proposal has not gained significant traction in Congress. Republicans say it would balance the U.S. budget in 7 years. In Washington, I'm Brendan Cullerton.
Coming up on Mountain News at 11, President Joe Biden issues a stark warning to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Plus, we stay chilly as we close out the work week, but a gradual warm-up is on the way. Your forecast after this break.